This conference will now be recorded.
Overriding is done, Amma. After that, we did overriding also, right? Function overriding. Yes or no? Today we have to see how to overcome that overriding. Correct now? Yes or no? Yes. See, to overcome that overriding, that means even if it is overridden, how can we access base class functions is what we are going to see right now. Is that clear? Write down heading super. Super. Super is a keyword. Super is a keyword which is meant for invoking and referring base class components only. Clear, Nama? Now you can see here in the base class we have got get A as well as get B. Two functions are there. In derived class we have got get A function and we have got some function over here. In some function what I am trying to do, super dot get A. Okay, now I'm calling super dot get A. Whenever I say super dot get A, this will look for get A function only in base class. Remember this point. This will look for get A function only in base class. It won't look for get A function in the derived class. I mean current class it will not look. It looks for base class. It will go to base. From here get A will be returning 10. Then self dot get A. As I said, self dot get A, it gives the priority for our current class first. If it is not available, then it will go for base class. Now here, as we have got in our own class, this returns 100. Then we are calling get B. As we don't have here, by saying this will go to base. Here get B returns 20. So totally 10 plus 100 plus 20. 130 will be the result. Is that clear, ma'am? Hello, Sushma, is that clear, ma'am? This is applicable and this will be used majorly whenever your functions are overridden. Remember this point. Okay, now? Whenever your functions are overridden, in that case only this super is highly preferred, highly used concept. Okay? Yes or no? Now, write down heading constructor. Okay? Okay, Rama? Constructor. What is meant by constructor? Any idea? Sushma? No. Okay, fine. Write down. Constructor. It is a special member function. It is a special member function which is meant for initializing value of variables and objects of a class. Okay, now it is meant for initializing value of variables and objects of a class. Is that clear, ma'am? Okay. Next point. It is special because one second. It is special because constructor name always be this one only, ma'am. Underscore underscore init underscore underscore. Got my point, right? It is special because constructor name will always be underscore underscore. Two underscores, ma. It is not one underscore. Underscore underscore init underscore underscore. Next point. Constructors will get invoked. Constructors will get invoked during object creation of a class. Clear, right? If it is a function, we have to call it specifically. Remember this point, ma'am. If it is a function, that's what in interview they'll ask the difference between constructor and a function. If it is a function, we have to call it specifically with the object. When it comes to constructor, you don't have to call. Whenever you are creating an object, automatically this will get invoked. Is that clear? Yes. Any doubts in this, you just ask me again, not an issue. Okay. Next. Write down heading. Rules to follow. Rules to follow while defining a constructor. Rules to follow while defining a constructor. Is that clear? First one. Constructor should not be having a written keyword within it. constructor should not be having a written keyword within it. Next, you should have only one constructor for a class. You should have only one constructor for a class. Okay? Is that clear, ma? Next, then constructor cannot be invoked with the object. That already in the definition itself I have mentioned. Okay, now? Yes or no? Constructor cannot be invoked with the object like a function. Clear, right? So these are the important rules and what you say features with respect to your constructor now. Okay, now whenever you are defining and using the constructor, make sure all these rules and features you are following. Okay, now? Yes or no? Okay. First of all, what is the use of constructor now? Can you tell me? What is the use of constructor? I gave all the information about the constructor, but I didn't tell you the use. Could you please guess what is the use? Yeah, tell me, ma'am. What about you, Shishma? Shishma, no. Okay, Meenakshi also no. Okay, fine. Let me tell you, ma'am. I'll tell you one important scenario. Leave about this program. I'll take one real-time example. See, ma'am, I have got one project over here. This is my machine. My project is there here. And in another machine, I have got database. Got my point, right? Somewhere in the network, in another machine or in the cloud, I have got a database. This is my machine. I have developed the code. Now, my code should go and connect to this particular database. First step. Then it has to perform some operations. Then it has to get the data. It has to do some operations. Got my point, right? Whatever insertion, updation, deletion, fetching, everything it wanted to do. See, doing all those operations, what is the first step we want to do mandatorily? Creating a connection. Correct, right? We need to establish the connection to this particular database. That is mandatory and important step. Correct, right? Yes or no? Where sometimes what we will be doing by chance or by mistake, we will forget to create this connection. We will start our what you say operations. Got my point, right? We'll start our insertion, deletion, etc. operations. If you miss out that creation of connection, and if you start performing your operations, what happens? As you don't have connection, it will raise an exception. You don't have connection. How can you perform the operation? How can you establish the database, what you say, connectivity? Next, which database it has to connect? All those things. So many errors will come into picture now. You have to face so many such kind of issues. So what is the mandatory first step? Here I have taken database connection. Let's say if you need to send any mail, first you need to initialize your SMTP server. If you need to perform any operations on the file, first you need to open the file. Like this, whichever first steps are there, right? That first steps, if you are forgetting, next further steps you cannot do. Got my point, right? Yes. These first steps, to be in safer side in the project, what we will be doing is we will do all those things in the constructor. Got my point, right? Like creating the connection, opening the file, and initializing our SMTP server. Like there's so many things. Whichever first initial steps has to be done, initial things has to be done. All those things we will do it by the help of constructors. Then whether you will do further operations, whether you will ignore, that is all up to you. But safer side, that first initial things we will take care with the help of constructor. Clear? How this constructor looks like, how that will get executed is what we are going to see right now. Okay? Write down next heading, types of constructors. Types of constructors. Clear, Nama? Yes or no? There are two different types of constructors are there. Those are, first one, default constructor, second one, parameterized constructor. Okay, now default constructor, second one, parameterized constructor. Clear, Nama? Write down about default constructor. It is a constructor. Which initializes value of variables and objects with default values. Value of variables and objects with default values. Clear, right? Yes or no? Now, see here. I gave you so many examples, like for sending the mail, SMTP server is the first step which has to be initialized. For connecting to the database, for performing operations on the database, creating connection with the database is the first important step what we have to do. Like this, I have said 3-4 types of real-time examples. All those things I cannot show you at this level because we are there in the initial stage. At this initial stage, if you ask me to show those things, I cannot show you. So instead of all those things, here I am taking division as one sample example. Got my point, right? Here I am taking division. Whenever you are performing any division, let's say you are performing any division operations, denominator should not be 0. That is what the mandatory thing. Correct, Noma? Yes or no? Hmm. So what I will be doing over here is, I will make sure my denominator variable will be initialized to something else other than 0. Got my point, right? My denominator variable, I'll make sure it will be initialized to something else other than 0. How that will be, all those things, let me show you right now. See here. First, D equal to division. See, this brace is there, Noma. This brace is basically used for invoking constructor. Is it clear? That brace is meant for invoking your constructor. During object creation itself, that brace will go and look for constructor in the program. Suppose if the constructor is there, that will get invoked. If constructor is not there, that won't raise any exception. Is that clear? See, here brace is there. First control will enter into this class and look for constructor. See, here we have got constructor. Is that clear? Yes or no? And that too, this constructor is not taking any parameters. Already I said in previous classes also, self you should not consider as parameter. Is that clear? Self you should not consider as parameter. So by seeing this itself, you can get to know that this is a constructor which is not taking any parameter. Okay. See, here even this wants a constructor without parameters, because here we are not passing any parameter. Even that wants a constructor without any parameters. So the requirement and the availability both are matching. When both are matching, control will enter into this. What this is doing over here, it is initializing whichever important variables, as I said, like database connection and file opening, SMTP creations, all those things you can write it over here. For us at this moment it is not needed, so I am declaring my denominator to 1. Okay, now I am initializing my denominator to 1. Is that clear, ma? Next, d dot display. That means with that object I'm calling display function. What this display function will do, self dot a, it will pick up from this, that is 0. Self dot b, it picks up from this, that is 1. So 0 by 1, it generates the output, that is 0. If that constructor was not there, it would have raised an exception. Clear, right? That we have avoided because of this constructor. If you want the proof, I will remove this. Check it out. 0 by 0, that will be an error. See, division by 0, 0 division error, it is raising. Clear, right? To avoid such kind of situations, to be in safer side, I have written this constructor. Okay, now, Sushma.
So, actually, if we won't initialize b as 0, does it take any random value? Or
It will take 0 only by default.
okay. If we don't mention also. Okay. Okay.
And In some versions of Python, it will take garbage value, but this version it is taking 0 as default value. Okay, no? Yes or no? Okay, fine. Can I open next one? Yes. So this is your default constructor now. This is your default constructor. Default constructor means it won't take any parameters. That's why this is called as default constructor. Okay, now? Okay. Now write down about parameterized constructor. Write down about parameterized constructor. This is a constructor. This is a constructor which initializes value of variables with the parameters passed to the constructor. Clear, right? Next point. Parameterized constructor need to be available in the class if you are using it for object creation. Parameterized constructor need to be available in the class if you are using it for object creation. Is that clear, ma? See, for default constructor, the option is if you have the constructor, that will invoke. If you don't have the constructor, that won't be invoked. Correct, na? That is for default constructor. But for parameters constructor, such kind of rule is not there. If you are considering any parameters constructor, see here, f equal to demo of 10. Here I am passing 10 as parameter. That means in your class, you need to have the constructor which will take one parameter. Here there is no option for escaping. Clear, right? Yes or no? Now, demo of 10. It looks for a constructor which will take one parameter. Of course, it is there over here. That m value I am assigning to b. Later, what is there in f dot b I am printing here. So the result will be 10. Clear, right? Sushma? Okay. Like this, only for default constructor there is an option whether that is available or not available. But for parameterized constructor, it should be available. That is what a mandatory rule. Clear, right? See, one more example with respect to your parameters constructor. See, person 1 equal to person 100 comma first. Here 100 will be assigned to A, first will be assigned to B. Clear, right? 100 will be assigned to A. First will be assigned to B. A value I am assigning to age. B value I am assigning to name. Then if I call show age, what is the age assigned to this variable will be printed. If I call show name, what is the name assigned will be printed. Is that clear? Yes or no? See, here with this constructor, age I am assigning to 100, name I am assigning to first. When it comes to this constructor, you see, age I am assigning to 80, name I am assigning to second. Is that clear? Yes or no? Now, if I execute 100 first, that is because of this constructor. 80 second, that is because of this constructor. Okay, now? Anybody has any doubts on this, ma? Are you guys with me? Okay, fine. This is what your constructor is all about. We have got two types of constructor, default as well as parameterized constructor. Now, we are going to see next concept, that is super constructor. Is that clear? Super constructor. What is super constructor in the sense? Let me show you this. Where is this? Where is this? See here now. See, ma, already we have discussed about inheritance, right? Yes or no? Now, in inheritance, our base class is considered as parent. Correct, right? Base class is considered as parent. Whenever you are going for base class and derived class, that means inheritance. For derived class only we will create object. Correct, right? Yes or no? So, if you see an inheritance, by any chance, in the base class, if you have a constructor, how can you call that constructor is what the question. Got my point, right? In the base class, if you have a constructor, how can you call the constructor is what the question. Where if the derived class is having constructor in the sense, because of object creation to that class, we can call that constructor. But in the base class, we don't have the chance because we won't be creating object for base class. Correct, right? Yes or no, ma? So, in such cases, how can you invoke base class constructors? That will be done by the help of super keyword. See here. We have got a base class. Here we have got a constructor within the base class, which is just printing hello. Clear? Which is just printing hello. Next, in the derived class, we have got one constructor where super dot underscore underscore init underscore underscore brackets. That means we are calling base class constructor. So control will go to base class. This will get executed. This will print the hello. Then our next statement end will get executed. Whenever we are creating object, this will happen. So see, first hello, then end will be displayed. Is that clear, ma? Yes or no? Now, one important thing what we have to consider over here is whenever you are using super, first preference you should give for super keyword only, ma'am. Is that clear? It is just like first you should give respect to your parents, then only ourselves. Same way here, first you should give reference. That means first you should invoke your base classes. You should satisfy that particular base class requirements. Then you should think about your other steps. That's why super keyword will come first into consideration. Is that clear? Next, suppose if base class constructor is expecting a parameter, you should supply the parameter over here. Remember this point. Clear, right? If that is expecting parameter, you should supply. If that is not expecting, you don't need to supply. Clear, right? Yes or no, ma'am? Yes. This is what your super keyword, this is what your constructor is all about. Now we'll go for next concept. Okay, now? Yes or no, ma'am? Both of you. So far, whatever we have seen, these concepts are just very basic things. Okay, now? Just very basic scenarios, basic examples like addition, subtraction, all those things we have did. From now onwards, we have to step into real-time kind of stuff. How we will be using the concepts in real time. Those kind of scenarios will come into picture. So you need to be very careful. Okay. Now, let me start up. Next concept, that is exception handling. Okay, now? Write down heading, exception handling. What is meant by exception, ma? Any idea? Okay. Sushma, what is meant by exception as per your understanding? Error only? What Meenakshi is saying? Same thing? Yes. Okay. Let me ask in this way. What is the difference between exception and error? Meenakshi is saying, what is meant by exception means she is saying this one has error. Now, what is my question is, what is the difference between exception and error? That means there should be two things. So only I have asked this question. Correct, right? Yes. So what is the difference? Any idea? Yes or no, ma? Both of you? No. Okay. Sushma also. No only, ma? Typing is error. Okay. Which is not typing is exception, ma? Like syntax error. Okay. Okay, ma. I'll come to you. Wait for a while. Write down heading exception handling. First, exception heading. Exception. It is an abnormal condition. It is an abnormal condition which terminates your program during its runtime. It is an abnormal condition which terminates program during its runtime. Is that clear? Yes or no? Okay. Now, abnormal condition during runtime. Got my point, right? These two terms you have to remember first. Now, the next thing is here. What is this runtime? What is this compile time? And what is this error is all about? We have to see right now. We have got one class called as base exception. Base exception. This is what the super class for all the exceptions. Is that clear? This is what the super class for all the exceptions as well as errors. This can understand any kind of exceptions and errors occurred in your program. Remember this. Clear, right? Yes or no? Next, under this base exception, we have got error, we have got exception. Okay, now under this base exception, we have got error, another one is exception. Clear? Two things are there. Now, first we will say what is meant by error. See, in the first class, when I was discussing about Python, I don't think in first class, second class might be. When I was discussing about Python installation, all those things, I think I have mentioned when you are installing Python software, please select this checkbox. I have mentioned, no, ma? Yes or no? Hello, are you guys with me? Yes. So something like that, whenever you want to execute your Python program, your Python should be available globally. So I said you to select that checkbox. Right now, I can execute my Python programs wherever I want, in any drive I want. Correct, right? Where? First thing, let's say if you didn't select that checkbox. First thing, if you didn't select that checkbox. And second scenario, I will tell you. Let's say your Python program needs Python somewhere latest version 3.7, 3.8 latest version is needed, but you have installed Python 2.x. Second scenario, if your Python program needs some 1 GB or 2 GB of space, but you are not providing that much memory space. If your Python program needs internet, if you are not providing that kind of internet, got my point, right? These are all external factors which are making your Python program not to execute. Is that clear? These are all the external factors which are making your Python program not to execute, where these external factors are considered as errors. These external factors are considered as errors. Now, my question is, who has to handle this errors, ma? Who has to handle this errors? Users, correct. See, if you are not setting the path, program will not run. Whose mistake? That is our mistake only, because we didn't set the path properly. That is our mistake. And version, it is expecting 3.x. You are providing 2.x. Whose mistake? Our mistake. It is expecting internet. It is expecting memory space. You are not providing. Whatever that the program needs, if you are not providing proper required facilities, that is our mistake only. Correct, right? Yes or no? Yes. Where all these things with our common sense, we have to resolve this. If you are not resolving, then that leads to errors where your program will not get compiled only. Remember this point. Clear, right? Yes or no, ma? Okay. So this is all up to user common sense. Ignore this. We are not going to study further on this. That is, with our common sense, we have to solve this. Okay, chalo. Next, what is left out under base exception? Exception. Under this exception, see, exception is also a class only. Whatever base exception will do is it can understand errors as well as exceptions. But exception can understand only exceptions. Remember this point. Exception can understand only exceptions. Under this exception also, we have got two types more. One is compile time exception. Another one is runtime exception. Is that clear? One is compile time exception. Another one is runtime exception. Where compile time exceptions are also called as checked exceptions. Got my point, right? Compile time exceptions are also called as checked exceptions. Why these are considered as checked exceptions? In the sense, user will check the code, but still he will do some mistakes. Got my point, right? User will check the code, but still he will do some mistakes. That's why these are called as compile time, otherwise checked exceptions. Is that clear? Yes or no? Okay. Now, which are compile time exceptions? Let me tell you. Let's say one function is not there, but still you are calling that function. If a class is not there, still you are trying to call that class. You are trying to inherit the features of that class. Next, spaces, alignments. You are not providing proper alignments. You are not providing proper braces, colons. These are all the silly mistakes. Got my point, right? All these syntax errors comes under your compile time exceptions. And in upcoming scenarios, what I will be showing you is we have to install some third-party libraries. That is what called as modules. Third-party modules, we have to install it to make your program to get compiled. Where if you are not installing it, while installation, some network failure happens. So half of only it got installed. Got my point, right? Like this, so many scenarios comes under compile time exception. Clear, right? Yes or no? All these compile time exceptions are whose mistakes, ma? Is it program mistake or user mistake? If you didn't write the code properly, If you didn't know whether that class is available, function is available, whose mistake? Hello? Whose mistake, ma? Programmer mistake. Correct. Programmer mistake. So programmer has to know about these kind of situations before itself. He should check the code properly. He should know which type of scenarios leads to compile time exception. These are all has to be solved with our common sense. Remember this point now. Clear, right? Okay. So even compile time exception also gone. Now we will speak about runtime exceptions. Runtime exceptions are also called as unchecked exceptions. Okay, no? Runtime exceptions are also called as unchecked exceptions. Why these are considered as unchecked exceptions? In the sense, these exceptions occurs during runtime of the program. Clear, right? These exceptions occurs during runtime of the program. That's why these are called as runtime exceptions. Clear? Let me tell you the scenarios. See, as a developer, I will develop my project. Let's say I have developed a calculator. I have developed, everything is working fine. I have designed a calculator and I have sold to some ex-customer. That customer, he is not from technical background. Let's say he is a small kid. He is a old man. He is not from technical background. He is some uneducated person. Like this, different category of customers will be using my software Numa, where with intention or without knowledge, he might have entered some wrong input. Let's say I have asked him to enter some numbers for performing addition. By mistake, he has entered some special characters. By mistake, he has entered some spaces. By mistake, he has entered some characters. How can you perform addition with characters, spaces, special characters, ma? Got my point, right? Those are unpredicted situations. Got my point, right? Those are all unpredicted situations, where these kind of unpredicted situations need to be handled with the program. Got my point, right? Those unpredicted situations need to be handled with the program. Let's say one more example. This other than inputs, I'll tell you. Whenever I'm trying to read the content from a file, that file is not available. And when I'm trying to connect to the database is not available. Table is not available. In that columns, what I'm expecting, what is available is mismatching. Like this, so many situations, ma. When I'm connecting and fetching the data, during that time, suddenly a power gone. Network disconnection happened. Like this, so many situations will come into picture. Whenever you are trying to retrieve the data from the input, huge data is there. Because of slow network, otherwise because of delay, something, suddenly you didn't get the data, otherwise the connection got disconnected. So many situations like this comes under runtime unchecked exceptions. Is that clear? Yes or no? Yes. So these kind of unchecked exceptions, how we can handle with the help of exception handlers, how many types of exception handlers are there, all those things in tomorrow's session we are going to start it up now. Tomorrow completely we will be discussing about exception handling and how to handle the exception handling, and which is base class, which is derived class, all those things we will be dealing in detail. So very important class for tomorrow's session. because throughout all our projects, without exception handling, none of the projects will be there. By any chance, if you are seeing a project without exception handling, then those projects are considered as dummy projects. Clear, right? Okay, fine, ma. See you tomorrow with exception handling concepts. Bye.